Hey guys, ladylocks here, and I wanted to do a video that pretty much covers all of what you need to know when you're first starting out in Locksport, including, some of the groups that you can get into, some of the vocabulary you might want to learn, some of the tools you might need. And it's definitely not all of the things that you're going to need to know, but it's a lot. It's going to be a lot. I'm going to try to go over as much as I can in as kind of orderly fashion as I can. So bear with me if I kind of go off track or forget something. It's a lot of information, and I'm just trying to give it to you in, one video so that you can basically take it all in and learn all this stuff that took me months to learn in just one video. Okay, so the resources. There's tons of resources for Locksport lockpickers out there. When I first started, I didn't know about any of them. I watched lock noob videos and Bosnia Bill videos and some lockpicking lawyer videos, and that was it. That was all I knew of Locksport. It took me a while, and then I found a couple of groups and things like that. But I'm going to tell you about the groups right now. And if you're watching this video, you may have found my video on Facebook, on some of the Facebook Locksport lockpicking groups. But there are other places than Facebook to find Locksport resources. So if you are on Facebook and you are into Locksport, you can look up Locksport lockpicking groups and you'll find quite a few on there. You can join them. Sometimes they have questions they like you to answer ahead of time, and that is just so that they are not getting spammers in the groups and things like that. So make sure you answer all of the questions that are asked of you if you want to join those groups. And just wait patiently, and they will approve your request, and you can join, usually within a few days. There are groups on Reddit. There are groups on Discord. And the Reddit and Discord group that I am in is the Lockpickers United. And that is one of the best groups I've found in Locksport. It is one of the, I guess, most resourceful groups. It's full of amazing Locksporters. There is so much information to be learned from so many people in the Lockpickers United. In one of the groups and have a question, just ask it. 90% of the people in Locksport will be more than happy to help you. There are a few in some of the groups that are, not so kind and things like that, but for the most part, I hope you don't run into them, but if you do, just ignore them and, block them. For the most part, everybody is absolutely wonderful in Locksport. You will not find a better community of people anywhere. You just won't. Let's see. Lockpickers United has a karate flair type of belt ranking system that they award people for picking locks. So you can go on. I will leave a link to I want to say, I'm not really sure what they call it. The belt ranking, the lock ranking website or something like this. I don't know, but I'll leave a link to it. It is actually a place where you can go and look up the different belts and find locks that are ranked, going from easy to hard. So it goes white belt, yellow belt, orange, green, blue, purple, brown, red, and black. And you can find locks that correspond with those belt levels, starting from easy, and work your way up. So you're not wasting money on locks that you're buying. Like I was buying locks that were either way too easy for me or way too hard for me. So, I would have a little bit of money and really want to buy a lock to pick, and I would either get one that was too easy or too difficult. And, then I wasted my money and couldn't pick the lock, or picked it in 2 seconds and was bored with it. Well, the belt ranking system actually helped me out a ton because I would just go on there and refer to the locks that they had listed. And I just worked my way from easy to difficult, using their already, ranked system. And also you can get the karate flair in the groups for picking the locks that you've picked. If you pick a white belt lock and submit a video to the Lockpickers United, they will award you the rank of white belt. If you pick a yellow belt, they'll award you the rank of yellow belt, and so on. But you just have to be able to submit your videos to them so they can review them in order to give you your ranking. And that's actually how I got started on my YouTube channel, because I wanted to get ranked. And in order to do that, I had to submit a video. And that was where my YouTube channel came about from. So, yeah, it's a very cool system. It really helps you to, strive to, do better, get a better ranking, work your way up to black belt someday. It's just a lot of fun. So, those are some of the resources. I don't know if I skipped any. I apologize. I'm sure there's something I'm forgetting, but I'm trying to remember everything. So from there, all these resources are there to help you. People trade locks with each other on the groups. So locks are expensive, and sometimes you've got some sitting there that you've picked already and you're bored with and you want new ones, but you can't afford it right now. All you have to do is ask, does anybody want to trade? And usually people will trade with you. There are challenge locks that you can pick. You can find those by asking in the groups as well. Challenge locks are locks built by other Locksporters in order to challenge you and test you. They're usually pretty, range from pretty easy to pretty difficult. It just depends on who's making the challenge lock, so on. Also, there are a ton of other Locksporters that have their own YouTube channels. YouTube was a giant resource and still is a giant resource for me to figure out how to pick locks, how to pick every single lock that you could imagine picking. You can find somebody picked it on YouTube, and, it's wonderful to have all these channels in your subscriptions list and be able to go on there and watch other people. And it helps to have a few, if you're picking a lock that you're unsure about, it helps to watch a few different people's videos of that lock so that you can get the most out of it and get the most tips and tricks and, information as you can. So it's great to have a lot of YouTube channels to look through. And that's about as far as the resources go that I can think of. There are definitely there's definitely a lot out there for Locksporters. So I hope this helps you at least find some of those resources and get them to use immediately. All right, so let's branch off and talk about some of the vocabulary that you might hear in Locksport. And I'm not really sure where to start with this. Let's talk about the key. That's one of the first things that you're going to deal with is the key to your lock, right? So let's talk about that. All right, so I've put a picture of a key up, and on this picture, things are already pointed out to you. So I'm not going to have to point all those out, but you can see where everything's at. So I've got a key here. Let me show you. This is the bitting of the key. Just these little cuts here. As you can see, it's called the cuts or the bitting. So here is the bitting of the key. Sorry about that. All these little cutouts, that's the bitting. And it changes from key to key. All right. Each key has its own unique bitting. And when you push a key into a lock, this bitting pushes up the key pins and pushes the key pins into the driver pins, and the driver pins then go above the shear line, and then you can open your lock, right? There's one other thing I want to point out to you where it says the blade of the key. It's actually referring to the top here. This is the blade. Let me see if I could get it. There we go. This is the blade, the very top. So that's all I wanted to clarify because it kind of has it pointed out, but looking straight down on it, this would be the blade. And the wording is kind of like these cuts here. All these cuts you see here. This is the wording of the key, which corresponds to the wording of your lock, which I will show you right now. Okay, so we've got a lock here. And let me list off some parts of the lock. So this is the core. This actually comes out. This is the keyway. Obviously, where the key goes is the keyway. All right, and the warding is actually all the metal inside of this lock. All the metal that's not key pins is the warding. So all this on the side here, to the left, to the right, all this metal. And the warding actually looks just how it looks here. So when you see this sticking out, that's going to go the whole way back. It's going to be exactly the same the whole way through the lock. Because this is where the key goes, right? And it has to stay the same for the key to go in, because it's the same the whole way down the key. Okay, so now that we saw that we've got the keyway and the warding and the core. All right, this is basically this cylinder here. The core goes inside of it. This is going to be the Bible. This is where the springs and the driver pins are. And this lock actually has a tailpiece. So this is a tailpiece here. The very end. All right, some of them don't have these. And I'll show you on some other locks here when we get going. Okay, so now that we know the outside pieces, let's check out the inside pieces. Okay, so the inside pieces are actually the important parts. Okay. So inside the lock there is a key pin, a driver, and a spring. When you pick a lock, you actually push up on the key pin, which then pushes up on that driver pin, and eventually it gets to the shear line, and all of them will be at the shear line, and you can turn the core and open the lock. All right, so this is basically a standard key pin. There's no marks on it, no cuts on it, no serrations on it, no anything. It's just completely blank, and it just has a little point at the end. That's how you know it's a key pin. It has a little point at the end, and that point sits in, sits onto the cuts in your key. All right. And the driver, there are all kind of different driver pins as well. There's all kind of different key pins as well. There are some that are serrated, some that are shaped like torpedoes. I mean, people make all kind of different ones, handmade. Mainly you'll see, all these different kinds and all kind of different locks. So for this one, I'm just going to show you a standard one for right now. By the time you find, the different types of key pins, you'll be well used to everything and you won't need the vocabulary, so it won't matter. So here's the key pin. All right, so let's talk about the drivers. Like I said, there's all kind of drivers. This is a standard driver. It has no marks on it, no cuts, no serrations, no anything. It's just completely blank, completely flat, top and bottom. That would be a standard driver. Now, these three are security drivers. And basically, a security driver is anything that's not a standard driver. So this one is a spool pin. There's a little piece of a spool here at the top and a little piece right here. The bottom and the middle is, smaller. So it's got a larger diameter top, larger diameter bottom, and a slender middle that looks like a kind of spool of thread or a dumbbell even, but it's called a spool pin. They've got one with all kinds of cuts across it. That's called a serrated pin, a serrated driver, serrated security driver. They're all security drivers, remember. And this one's actually one of the Lock Noob chest piece drivers, but I just wanted to show it to show you that there are a lot of different things you could do to a driver pin, or that you could find on a driver pin. And all these different things are going to give different feedback and make the lock feel totally different. And once you get to these types of pins, you'll start to learn how to pick them. And there's tons of videos and tons of information out there. You'll be ready for them when it's time. But for right now, you just need to worry about the name, key pin, driver, security driver, standard drivers. And there's always a spring in there, and the spring actually goes right here. I just have it here on the side for you to see. But it would go key pin, driver, spring. And actually, you'll see that when you're gutting a lock. You'll see how they go when you're taking it apart. And then in the middle here, these little guys here, these are called master wafers. And these are actually placed into a lock when there is a need to have two different keys with two different bitting to open one lock. So you would have one key that maybe a teacher would have, and it's her own key, and then one that the maintenance man would have that's his own key that he can open that same lock even though the key bitting is different. And that bitting is able to be different by placing these little guys into, right here in the key pin section. And that creates multiple shear lines inside of a lock. So not only could you get this one to reach the shear line, you could pick it and get this one to reach the shear line. And you could open it this way or this way, right? You'll learn more about those as you go. You probably won't see those right away. They're not in every lock. And honestly, I really didn't start seeing master wafers until I got into maybe blue belt locks. So if you're just starting out and you're picking maybe yellow belt locks, you may not see any master wafers in those types of locks. But if you do run into these little guys, you'll know exactly what they are, and, no need to worry about them. They just make it actually a little bit easier to pick a lock. Wouldn't make anything more difficult. Okay, so now that we know what's inside a basic pin tumbler lock, I guess we could talk about the different types of locks that are out there. Okay, so we've got two ABIS padlocks. From up here, they look sort of the same. But when you take a look at the keyway, there are two different types of locks. All right. One is a pin tumbler lock and one is a dimple lock. All right. We know what a pin tumbler looks like. That's probably the ones you're most familiar with. But let's check out a dimple lock. So a dimple lock looks like this. And here's a key for a dimple lock. Okay. Now, these locks, dimple locks, can come in different formats. So this is a padlock, and this is a Euro cylinder. All right, and that's still a dimple lock and a Euro cylinder. Let's see. And I've got another dimple lock, and this is actually an amortis cylinder. All right. So these types of locks can come in the different formats, but let's talk about the different formats that you might find. So we've got mortise cylinders, and those are actually cylinders that are threaded. You can see they're threaded here, and they've got a cam on the back, and that is how they operate. All right, so that's a mortise cylinder. You've got a rim cylinder. And the rim cylinders kind of look like mortise cylinders if you're just looking at them like this, but they're actually not threaded where the mortise cylinder has threads. All right, the rim cylinder has no threads, and they typically would have a tailpiece on them. Tailpiece, let's see, this is the tailpiece. So something like this, some type of tailpiece on the back. This one just doesn't have it. Right, so that's a rim cylinder. We talked about this one. This is a key and knob or kick cylinder, K-I-K. You might hear people talking about a kick cylinder. That would be this type. All right. And we talked about the little tailpiece on the back there. We've got Euro cylinders. We talked about that. We saw a Euro cylinder in a dimple lock. But here's a Euro cylinder in a pin tumbler version. And typically they're picked up and down like this, which is actually, I always say it's upside down. But if you look at the name of the lock, picking it this way would be right side up. All right. So when we pick them this way, we're actually picking them upside down. But let's not get into that. That's a Euro cylinder. This is a double Euro cylinder. All right, this is actually one that was cut. You can see the marks here. It was cut. It was once a double Euro cylinder. All right, no, it's cut. And here's the actuator on those. This little black thing in the middle there is the actuator. But that's a double Euro cylinder. We've got oval cylinders. Here's an oval. And here is a cam lock. And cam locks are typically found on cabinets. They're cabinet locks. This one happens to pop out. A lot of them just, you turn the key and there's a, you know, tailpiece on them that turns. All right, and we've got a high pin count lock. And the key on those look like this. And they actually have, I think this one actually has 20 pins in it, or 21 pins in it, or something around there. 18, 21. I'm not really sure, but it's high. And that's why they call it a high pin count lock. And you might also see HPC lock. That would be this. High pin count. HPC stands for high pin count. Right? I'm sure you've heard of lever locks. Those are the type of locks that have skeleton keys. I'm sure you've heard or seen those. Yeah, there's just so many different types and different formats and all of that, but you'll get the hang of it as you go. And I guess let's talk about next some of the tools that we might need or use in Locksport, because that's pretty important. When you want to buy tools, you need to know what they're called in order to buy them. So let's talk about that next. Okay, so some of the tools that I use every single time I am picking a lock and gutting a lock. All right, so first we've got the pinning tray. Now, this is actually a 3D printed pinning tray that I got off of Bobby Keys. He's a 3D printer that prints things for us in Locksport. He's got very reasonable prices. You can find him on Facebook, but he makes all types of different pinning trays. I've got several pinning trays that he's made me, but these are very important when you're gutting a lock in order to lay out the pins in the correct place so that you can put them back and not get anything mixed up. A pinning tray is a must-have. Sparrows has pinning trays on their site that are just very little mini ones, and they work great. They're very inexpensive and they work great. If, some people just, that's all they have and it works great for them. You can buy giant pinning mats from, several places online. I just like this little 3D printed one. It works great for me. Like I said, I've got several, but this is my favorite. But you'll probably need one of these when you start into, gutting your locks and progressively pinning them and things like that. We've got the tweezers, which is a must-have. So this is a regular pair of tweezers. And these are kind of reverse grab tweezers. I'm not really sure the technical name of them, but you pinch them together and they open, and you let go and they close. I find these to be invaluable to me for picking up springs and picking up some pins. They do grip wonderfully around the springs though. I have a hard time picking up springs with these. I either use not enough pressure or too much pressure. If I use not enough, the spring falls out and rolls away. If I use too much, the spring shoots across the room and it's gone forever. So I like these because they grab those they grab those springs and they hold on to them perfectly. And they don't go flying anywhere. So I really found these to be the best. And I just got these on Amazon. They weren't anything expensive. I think they were $10. I'm not really sure. This is a gut wrench that I got from Sparrows, and these little cutouts here remove clamps on the back of your lock. It takes a while to get used to using one of these and learn how to do it the correct way, but once you do, another invaluable tool. I have fought with clamps, and it has taken me longer to remove a clamp than it has to pick the lock, and it's terrible. It's terrible. It's so annoying. So once I got the hang of using this, I use it all the time now, and I get my clamps off pretty quickly. This is called a pickle fork, and this was a tool made for me by Dana Reed. She sent this to me, and it's another thing that gets those clamps off the back just by using this little piece here. It kind of pops the clamps off. I think this one's made specifically for quick set, but it has worked on other clamps that I couldn't use this for. So If I was having a hard time with using this, this worked perfectly. So both of these are great for removing clamps. I love them. This is a plug follower. Now, this is another tool that you definitely need if you're going to be gutting locks. You place this in the back when you're pushing your core out, and this actually follows it's called a plug follower because it follows the plug right through the lock, and then you have this in the lock holding the drivers and springs up inside of the Bible, and you can take the core and the key pins out. And then when you want to go ahead and continue gutting, you just push this through slowly as you remove the pins one by one. These are amazing. You can also, I think, sub want to say, if you're picking, say, an 1100, I think a AAA battery will work as a plug follower. And maybe a AA for a bigger core. I'm not 100% sure, but you can look up different things that you can use for plug followers if you don't have a plug follower. This is a core holder. I'm not really sure the technical name of this either, but you place your core in here. Once you've used your plug follower to get it out, you place it in here and it holds on to it so it doesn't go rolling around. And you can also pin your locks while it's in here and things like that. So these are great as well. But I just keep it like this and keep it on my desk because I do use it every day pretty much. This is actually a plug follower stand that was printed for me, 3D printed by Bobby Keys, another great tool. It has all the different sizes. I just put all the other sized ones that I have in here. And it's got a little section here for putting I guess you could put your shims in there and whatnot. And I think that's about it as far as tools that I use every day. So I've got several types of picks sitting on my desk right now. All right, so first up we've got dimple flags. And these are actually made to pick the dimple locks that I showed you earlier. They're, necessary in order to pick those pins. You can't use a hook or fit a hook in those keyways sometimes, and you need to use these. I got this set from Multi-Pick. They're very expensive. I recommend grabbing this set. It's called a Huck set, H-U-K, and I got this from, I think it's AliExpress. And this set was $30 as opposed to, I believe, the big $200 set Multi-Pick. So I use these ones the most anyways. So there's a couple different dimple flags. Then we've got just, different types of hooks here. These are all hook picks, and these are all different. These are different from different sets. This is a Jimmy Long set. Now, I don't know if all the profiles are in these 4 here. I just grabbed a few. But Jimmy Long sells sets of 4. He sells a, short, medium, I think a second medium, and a long. He sells the sets of 4 for around $20. They are amazing picks. He sells them in the flat tipped or the round tipped, I believe. And he sells a set with a diamond and gems. And you can go check out his website. I will leave a link to his website in the description. But the Jimmy Long set is one of my favorite sets. I personally like the flat tipped hooks because they pick, I don't slide off the pins as much with a flat hook. If you're just starting out, I recommend you also get a flat hook. Get a flat hook set if you can. The Jimmy Long set is great. I wouldn't spend $100 and $200 on a set of picks just yet. If you're new, I would grab a couple picks from a couple different places and see, what your favorite manufacturer is, because you don't want to be stuck with an entire $200 set of picks and then go buy a $20 Jimmy Long's 4-piece set and absolutely love them and never use your $200 picks again. So my best advice I could give you on picks is make sure that you just try a couple from a couple different places before you invest a lot of money in a set, because you might regret it. This is actually the monkey paw profile. I got this from Sparrows. I absolutely love this profile. When I was starting out picking, I opened every lock for probably 5 or 6 months with just this one pick. Literally, one pick is all I used. It was ridiculous because I had I think 2 big sets from somewhere, and I never touched them. I just used this one $5 pick. So and then I found Jimmy Longs, and these are my new favorites. As you can see, this one's pretty beat up, and this one's a little misshapen as well, maybe a little bit. I don't know, but I use them a lot. And, for $20 for 4, I can grab another 4 set if I need them. No problem. These are actually custom made picks. You'll find custom made picks from different people in the Locksport community. You will see they sell them, and you can buy whatever profile you'd like, or any color you'd like. Usually they'll make something just for you if you ask them and tell them exactly what you want. But it's nice to support other members of the community if that's what their specialty is making picks. Then I like to actually support them and try to get a pick or two, from them. But that comes along down the road once you know what kind of hooks you like and what are your favorite picks and things like that. For right now, I suggest though, grab a Jimmy Long's 4-piece flat hook set, maybe in 23 thousandths. He also has a 19 thousandths set. But if you're new, I would say the flat hooks in 23 thousandths, and there's 4 of them. That should be every size you need for a while. And you'll probably be set for months and months with that one pick set. But definitely, try different places. I have picks from tons of different manufacturers. Each pick gives you different feedback. So it's important that you buy from a couple of different places because you're going to need different feedback sometimes. These are actually high pin count picks. High pin count locks. These are made right here. But you're definitely going to find that you're more comfortable with a certain manufacturer. You like their products the best. You like their feedback the best. And you wouldn't know if you don't experiment and go get a couple from a couple different places. Okay? All right. So for tensioners, we've got the dimple lock tensioner. We've got the high pin count lock tensioner. And we've got pin tumbler tensioners. We've got a flat bar. And the Z bar here is actually a top and bottom of keyway tensioner that I got from lockpicktools.com. It's one of my favorite tensioners. It comes in a 3-piece set for around $10, and I absolutely love it. This smaller end works in the Euro cylinders just wonderfully. You'll definitely need a bunch of different tensioners and a bunch of different sizes from a bunch of different places. You can never have enough tensioners. You can make them out of windshield washer inserts like this one here. That was made for me by a fellow Locksporter, fastidious lockpicker. He made me a set with some windshield washer inserts. But yeah, guys, you're going to need a lot of different equipment. You have to know what it's called in order to go buy it. So I hope this helped you. I hope this helped, to get you on the right track as far as what things are called in Locksport and things like that. And I do have one last thing that I want to show you. I'll be very quick about it, but I do get a lot of questions about it. So this is my vise. This is made by Panavise. Okay, the bottom piece and the middle piece here are both Panavise. This is just a piece of, tubing I got to be able to connect my small rig to my vise. This small rig is amazing. I love it. I found all this on Amazon in pieces, of course. I will leave a link to the Panavise in the description of this video as well, and a link to the small rig because lots and lots of people ask me about the small rig. It is amazing. I love the Panavise because you can get different pieces and mix and match different pieces as long as you have the base, the 2 base pieces. You can get all kind of different, pieces for up top, but I prefer the small rig. It holds my locks great. And this base here is absolutely perfect. You can stash your key in there while you're picking a lock, different tools. You can throw your tensioners in there, just anything you need, little screws and doodads and whatever you can throw right in the base here. You don't lose it. It doesn't roll away. So I absolutely love it. And that is the last thing I have to say.